Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight for the first of our Dice Dad Games Night of the Walking Dead streams. I'm Dice Dad, and this, as I'm about to transition to them, are our wonderful cast. Hello, wonderful cast.
Green things. I mean greetings.
We're super excited to be starting a new stream. We're hopefully going to be kicking off a series of things, but yeah, I'm not going to do too much, ado or whatever. I'm Dice Dad. These are our cast members. We've got Joe. We'll do character introductions in a second. I'm just going to go through and say who the players are. We got Joe. We've got Kai. We've got Brian. And we've got Lyn. Pronouns, he, him for Joe, they, them for Kai, they, them for Brian, they, them for Lyn. And I'll go by any pronouns you want to call me. And, but I usually he, they, them. But, yeah, not too picky. So that's our cast for this evening. I'll go ahead and kind of get into a little bit of what we're going to be doing. I realize I've got two Spotifys playing at the moment. Let me turn off one of those. There we go.
Not the kind of discordant we were going for.
It's a nice layering effect.
So yeah, at least it wasn't. They were two of the same synthy songs played about the same level, so one could just assume that it's one really synthy song. But yeah. So tonight's campaign and the campaign we're going to be playing for the next probably several weeks is taking place in the swampy domain of Soranya. We're going to be doing a Ravenloft campaign. Soranya is a sort of Cajun bayou filled with spirits and undead and plant monsters and every sort of tropey swamp horror thing you could think of. There's voodoo and magic and murder. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Sorry. It's been a while since I'm on stream. Let me this is my first stream back since I finished Curse of Strahd, so it's been about a year and a half since I've been on stream doing really much of anything. So forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous and I ramble a little bit here at the beginning. I'm just trying to get my head on straight. All right. Okay. So we are going to sort of zoom in, like if there were a camera, it would kind of zoom in on two of our characters. They're sort of the lone two figures, sort of squelchily stomping through the marshy, probably 2 inches deep at the best, up to your waist, at the medium, and you're swimming at the worst, but just sort of murky stick and leaf and mud filled water. It's just like you can see two figures kind of just like stepping through the bracken. You can see that there is what appears to be a large anthropomorphic turtle who is wearing robes and has the look about them of a magic user. You can see sort of accompanying this turtley figure. You can see that there is a sort of slightly green-skinned, slightly scaly-looking humanoid, sort of wielding a weapon and carrying some armor, or and wearing armor, kind of very much looking the part of the martial class. And you kind of just see the two of them walking together, kind of silently making a little bit of conversation, but mostly just trying to keep from falling into the water. We'll go ahead and come to them as I've kind of given a loose introduction, but we'll go ahead and let the players themselves give the better introductions for their characters. Joe, why don't you go ahead and start us off and tell us about your character?
Like they said, Liam Rafi is a humanoid turtle, green skin, wearing blue tailored robes to fit his shell, because most robes wouldn't fit over the entire shell. Big, thick, horn-rimmed glasses. Using like what looks like a walking stick. Trying to like not fall through the sludge as heavy as he is, like trying not to sink into it as much. Yeah.
All right, and go ahead, Kai. Tell us about Buri.
And Buri's out here wearing like extremely simple armor. You know, it covers as much skin as possible. He holds a trident. I imagine he's probably holding it up a little bit to keep it from getting stuck in the gross muck that they're walking through. But he wants it to be always ready because he is truly the image of a bodyguard, always looking around, checking all his corners everywhere they go, leading the way, but not so far that he can't get back if necessary. Not much to say about him. He's green, he's scaly, he's got some orange fins going and hiding in his armor. But yeah, that's him.
Awesome. And as the two of you are again kind of just making your way through these swamps, Buri, you specifically, you kind of find your thoughts a little pessimistic. Like you find yourself asking yourself, how did I get here? As you step and your foot sinks down into another muddy hole, and some catfish who was in there, suddenly very rudely is awakened and kind of squirms around, shoves his way past your leg. It's like it's unpleasant. You're used to the courts, you're used to the finery of the king's court, and this is just kind of not your usual MO. But you got to do it. You were tasked to accompany this wizard as the two of you look into these sort of strange occurrences that have been happening in the swamp recently. These swamps themselves are massive. The swamps of Saranya. They are home to a number of sort of tribes of smaller creatures. There are lizard folk encampments, various species of lizard folks. There are Yuan-Ti here. There are various animal kin or small tribes of sentient animal spirits that have sort of taken form and come to live in this place, and all of them kind of work together, or there's an ecosystem. There's some kind of a homeostasis element to it all, and things kind of just chug along. You show reverence to the great spirits who are familiar to you and your companions or your tribes or your villages. You try not to disturb the nature too much, as a swamp's purpose is greater than any one generation can be. It's sort of a place to break down and then build something anew. There's a reverence for this place that is it exists throughout the various tribes, with the exception, we could kind of say, of one group of people. And that is who the people those are the people that Liam Rafi has been sent to learn about, basically. Your king, the king of the Tritons here, and of many of the other sort of seagoing and serpentine races who kind of live on the edges of the swamp at the coast. The king has noticed, and many of the people have noticed, that there are some unusual goings on as of late in the swamp, and the humans are not really part of the natural way of things. They don't understand the language that you all use. It doesn't come naturally to them like it comes naturally to all of you. The sort of the Loa tongue, the sort of Sylvan that all of you are able to communicate with, doesn't exist for them. Or it does, but only a few of them are able to do it. That's and whenever one of these people can talk to you or is capable of gaining your attention and communicating with you in a and not trying to capture you and skin you or use you in some way. It's usually a pretty big occurrence. And things are kind of weird right now because some of the familiar spirits of the shores and of the swamps and of the water and of the sky that your group kind of follows and reveres, they kind of haven't been answering prayers recently. They're not really assisting with keeping the weather calm. Like there's like a lot of the things that they bless you with are kind of not really going on, and no one's really sure why. There was like the diviners and the clerics. They haven't really received any word or any signs, and kind of everyone is curious and worried. So a council was convened, and it was decided that someone needs to go see if the humans are behind whatever this is, because none of the animal tribes seem to know what's up. So that is what you, Liam, have been tasked with, and of course you were assigned Buri, sort of one of the nobles who is sort of tied to the royal family, and is sort of not one of the really seasoned veterans. Like you're fairly certain that this might be one of Buri's first times out. But everyone's got to prove themselves. You're looking to prove yourself as well. And so the two of you kind of make good companions for traveling. And there hasn't been a lot of fighting or anything. It's been a couple days of fairly uneventful travel. The occasional dangers of the swamp are there, and you've dealt with them, but as you just continue making your way east towards where the humans live outside of the swamp. You have to make your way all the way to the opposite end of the swamp from where you started out. It's just a journey, So as the two of you will kind of pan out, the two of you are tromping through the mud, and we'll kind of go to another area of the swamp, not so incredibly far away from where Liam and Buri are currently traveling. You come across, or we'll see another pair that appears to be kind of scaling a sort of collapsed cypress tree that is half sunken in the swamp that seems to be kind of blocking them from getting to this area beyond as they're continuing their journey. But we come across another greenish, scaly, not necessarily scaly, but another animalistic individual. We come across a grung. Rather unusual for the swamps of Saranya, as they're more boggard territory than grung territory. But this grung is currently, as I said, kind of scaling this fairly large collapsed tree that is kind of half decomposed, sticking up out of the swamp, and assisting a figure who really is not the best suited for these sorts of travels. A cloven hoof is not the best foot to travel a swamp with. So this satyr that this grung is traveling with definitely could use the assistance. Kind of as the grung reaches a hand out, takes the satyr's hand and kind of pulls them up out of a particularly deep, squelchy spot of mud up onto the log. And as you kind of start to kick the mud off of your hooves, we'll go ahead and let our second two players, Brian and Lyn, tell us about their characters. So Brian, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your character, Chester?
Yes, Chester Bogwater the Fourth is a yellow banded tree frog style grung. So very, very yellow with black spots and black stripes. Some markings almost that look akin to a mustache, but a very yellow belly with little black spots all over. He is having a blast in the swamp, as this is the kind of environment that he loves, and is being very careful about helping his companion. He's only about 3 feet tall. He's not very big, but he's gonna have some leather gloves that he wears in order to take his companion's hand, as his skin is a little bit poisonous.
That was a fun surprise first time.
Yes.
Went to give him a pat on the back and thought I was gonna die.
Cool. So that's Chester. All right, and then Lynn, go ahead and tell us about Theo.
Theo is a beautiful goat man. He has these luscious chocolate brown hair and like a slightly lighter colored body, and wearing this darker leather armor, more of a bodysuit than armor. But it has this deep V in the chest that puffs out his cream colored chest hair, and he's a little lighter around the mouth and the eyes. His horns are kind of the color of rust, and it makes his blood red eyes look even more dark and mysterious. But he's a grinning kind of guy. He enjoys the moments where he kind of gets to hop from log to log or rock to rock, and absolutely hates the moments where he has to kind of squelch along through this. He's not used to being in the woods, really. He's more of a city person. He likes crowds because he can either get their attention or he can disappear into them. Either way, this whole not being in crowds thing is kind of a suck, really.
Yeah, and you know, you kind of can hear the grumbling as Theo is kind of kicking the mud off of his hooves.
Again.
Yeah, and Chester and Theo kind of make their way across this big log and to the other side of this sort of area of water. You know, they kind of get to an outcropping of land above, and you know, just kind of look to the east. And you know, they just continue their trek. Theo, of course, is just kind of tagging along, having kind of been dropped off of the riverboat that he was traveling with, and you know, wasn't quite able to catch back up with them as it kept chugging along down the waterway. But you were not alone for very long, for before too much time had passed. You kind of heard before you saw. A sort of loud, boisterous individual that you expected to be much larger than the actual little frog that kind of popped out from around the tree whenever Chester did finally show up. But Chester's size does not equal the level of valiance, and you know, he can't stop and not help someone in need. So he helps Theo out, and you know, as the two of you have been traveling, you know, I'm assuming Chester's probably shared a bit about why he's traveling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so you're kind of aware, Theo, that this little frog is on a mission. That he needs to meet with a priest. He is seeking out a priest in the human settlement specifically, who is known to be able to talk to animals. And he's got some questions for this holy man, though, you know, the exact manner of questions he hasn't quite told you, you know, but you're kind of aware of what's going on. And yeah, so again, just stomping east through the marsh, through the swamp, you all make your way. And you kind of travel as you've been traveling for a couple days, and eventually night begins to kind of settle over these swamps. It's fairly hot and humid during the day. There's a lot of like shafts of light kind of barely breaking in through the dense kind of overgrowth and foliage. You know, it's fairly shady, but it kind of traps in the humidity as well. So there's usually kind of a fog that kind of hangs over, especially in the early mornings, and then kind of once it gets to the evening. So, you know, as night kind of begins to settle, you can see the very dense underbrush and growth and water. It gets harder to see through. The water kind of gets sort of that crystally black reflectiveness, you know, that you get at night. And over time, you can see that a sort of clinging, creeping fog kind of begins to rise from the water itself. And kind of just settles over the landscape that obscures just about everything underneath it. So you know, it's not a whole lot longer that you're even able to travel at that point, you know, because it's kind of dangerous to travel the swamps at night, even if you've got dark vision, just because the fog and the mists of the cooling night air make it difficult to even see what you're doing on the ground. But yeah, as you're kind of looking for, each party is kind of looking for a decent place to sort of camp for the evening, or to bed down, someplace not too wet, or in the case of Liam and Buri, someplace that is wet enough for them to, to comfortably sleep. And as you're traveling, who's got dark vision and who doesn't in this party?
Me! I have dark vision. You can't hear me.
No, we can hear. Well, we can hear you. I don't know if you're
You can?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to.
Wrong microphone.
Me!
input.
I
Oh,
have
no.
dark vision. No, that's the thing. It's not the wrong microphone. It's actually the fucked up thing.
Danger.
The voice meter might just be weird.
No dark vision over
I
here.
see what the problem is. Hold on.
Well, so since everyone other than Buri needs light to be able to see, it's already gotten too dark to travel. So how do you travel when it gets too dark to see? Do you have lanterns? Are you lighting torches? Liam, what's your light source?
Liam, just double checking that I still had it. Liam will light up the top of his staff with a just a basic small spell, so that it lights his way.
Okay.
Kind of very much like a torch, but
Okay.
more on the blinding white side.
Okay, so you're casting the light spell. So yeah, just a very and it catches immediately on the fog. So it's hard to see, and then the light kind of catches everything, and then suddenly you're very aware of how dense this fog is. It's almost like once you get further than a few feet away from each other, it gets kind of hard to see your companions or to see your companion. But things are definitely quieting down. You can hear, the droning of the locusts and the grasshoppers and the crickets and all the bugs, that kind of ring sound that you kind of get once you get kind of out into the sticks, Yeah, you can hear that. You can hear the waters of the swamps as they're gently lapping up against the shores and against the debris and things, against trees. You can hear the gentle sort of breeze as it blows through and kind of carries the mists with it, sending them spiraling and tumbling. And you can see another light source. As you kind of are still looking for a place to stop. Off in the mists of ways, you can see that there's another sort of bobbing ball of light. Chester and Theo, how are you two lighting your path?
Yes, I have just the cantrip for this. Use the light cantrip and just light up, I guess, probably my holy symbol.
I got a stick.
Oh, I could light the stick for you if you'd like.
Lightsaber mode.
Yes. So I just use the light cantrip on our our stick.
Sure, yeah. Theo kind of needs that extra leg to travel through the swamp here, with the walking stick. So as you cast your spell through it, you can see sort of a magical sort of pale light emanating from it. And again, the two of you are traveling a ways. You feel the temperatures cool as the moisture in the air kind of condenses into the fog. You can feel it kind of beating up on your skin. Chester, it feels really nice after such a long hot day. It kind of cools you off. And Theo, your fur is soaked, and it's if anything kind of trapping in heat. So you're fairly uncomfortable. This is not it's not a setting that he is super comfortable in. But as the two of you are walking, you can see off to the south a ways, sort of on the other side of the sort of the canal that you guys have kind of found yourselves sitting up on. There appears to be another source of light, and it's kind of slowly bobbing its way in your direction.
Newcomers. I wonder who else is out in the swamp at this hour.
wave my stick at them.
I hope they're friends. Wave it more friendly.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
And as Liam and Buri see this light source a ways kind of ahead of them, you find your mind going kind of going naturally to, this could be a will-o-wisp or something like that. There are horrors of the swamp, especially at night, and generally the advice is not to go following strange lights in the swamps, but it waves itself in a very friendly way, and that very friendly method just lets you know, it kind of sets your heart at ease. No monster waves it that way. There's too much. Yeah, there's like a rhythm to it.
It just exudes trustworthiness.
As a Triton, would I be at all like, oh no, anglerfish are like that? No way.
That's what I'm saying. There are scary things with lights that use them to lure you.
Get your weapon ready.
I think he Buri leans in and he goes like, "Are there meant to be people out at this hour?"
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, and then he just like readies his trident. Hold your light aloft. It slowly advances.
I think the friendly.
The two of you see very slowly as you kind of wave your thing, the little mode of light kind of like and stops, and then sits there for a second, and then you can see it slowly kind of moving closer, very methodically, and then you can see the forms sort of appearing in the mist. You can see you can see a Triton and a turtle man as the two of them kind of step out. The turtle man looking very arcane, like the drip is eldritch, and the Triton looks every part to be his bodyguard. You kind of immediately get what's going on. It appears that the Triton merfolk tribe has sent out an emissary to go do some kind of task. But that happens all the time, but you don't know what specific task they could be on. Chester specifically would know this. Theo, you got no clue who these people are.
Nope. I'm just waving my stick.
Huzzah, friends! A fine night we're having. Huh?
Is that a satyr? Why is there a satyr in the swamp?
Oh, why is there a Triton and a turtle? I don't know. Why are any of us out here?
Is this true? This is true.
I mean, I guess it is quite pleasant.
Presumably you know why you're out here.
This is true. This is very true. I do know why I'm out here. I'm searching for the human settlement.
Oh, we are too.
Well, what a coincidence. Sounds like we're all headed the same direction.
Sounds like fate to me. Perhaps we could share a camp or something. It is quite dark and spooky.
Safety in numbers and such.
Oh no, somebody of the divine.
It's also a little bit, shall we say, murky. I'm not sure that this is necessarily the best place to set up camp.
Oh no.
I do love me some Bogwater. My name isn't Chester Bogwater the Fourth. I'm Chester, by the way. But yes, perhaps somewhere more dry for my satyr friend here. That would be ideal.
Buri leans into Liam and he goes, "That's not his real name."
It can't be. It's totally made up. It's totally made up. I don't think anybody would ever name their child that.
Can I hear this?
It's too coincidental.
You kind of see them do a little aside. Yeah. Are you going to try to listen in to hear what their aside is about? Yeah, give me a perception
21
check.
on a perception check.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's 21 on a perception check.
Yeah, you hear that it can't be the real name. No one would name their kid that.
Hey, well, all names are made up. So, they're all fake. They're all equally fake.
Yours is definitely made up.
Yes, so is yours, I'm sure. If you have a name, I assume.
Well, I'm Liam.
Ah, pleased to meet you, Liam.
I'm
This is Buri.
Call me Buri.
I'm Theo. I picked this name myself.
I can
Better than Bogwater.
I picked that one myself too because this Bogwater is just so enchanting.
You think that's weird? I've got a cousin named Mary. What was it? Mary Dandelion Bum. So not always the best names and families and such.
Dandelion bomb. That's weird.
I know, right? Changed her name to Clara.
And
What's
as
this
you
gator
guys
doing in the
are
swamp?
as you guys are talking, you kind of are naturally kind of like you begin to as you said, you need to find a place that you can all rest. You know, a place that is equally watery and not watery. You know, so that everyone can sleep comfortably. And
sleep in a
so
tree.
you kind of just like talk. Yeah, that's true. There are plenty of trees to climb up. And
I'm
you wouldn't be
happy
the
to sleep
only
in trees.
thing. Lots of creatures take refuge in the trees at night. There's bats and birds, and you can hear them. Like, you can hear the chittering and lots of nocturnal things kind of running around. You see the flashes of eyes as you begin to kind of focus in on your surroundings. And then, you know, kind of the as you guys are looking, you know, and listening and watching and walking, you know, the night kind of falls more. You know, it continues to get darker. The sun is completely gone, and then the moon, the very large moon, Saranya's moon, is like it takes up probably a third of the sky just as it begins to make its way across the sky. The light of the moon is not the same brightness, of course, as the daytime, but it's enough to be able to see your nose in front of you. You know, it's not so dark that you can't see. And the gentle breeze that's kind of been blowing through the trees, kind of you can feel it again, sort of cooling and kind of picking up speed, and you can smell a smell, kind of a very familiar smell on the wind.
Smell.
You can smell that kind of like pre-storm air, kind of as it begins kind of blowing in. You kind of feel like a humid gust from the shores, and as you kind of feel the breeze, and you can hear it as it blows through the trees, and it kind of parts the canopy for a moment, and you can see into the sky. You can see the big moon and the big stars, but you also see in the distance, far off to the east, that there are some very, very large, very menacing clouds that are just kind of starting to rumble and churn. Sort of, you can tell that they're off the coast. There is definitely a storm that is coming, and by the looks of the clouds, it doesn't take a druid to look at those and know, wow, this is going to be a bad one.
Well, what's the point of getting dry then?
I hope you guys have a tent. I kind of have a portable one, so I'm good.
We can hide under a rock or a tree or something like that, I'm sure. Or
I think that's
we
gonna
could-
cut it for this one.
It looks like a bad
find
one.
a big rock. We'll be fine.
You can find a big rock. I'm going
That
to
I
find
can.
a shelter.
Is there a cave or anything nearby, maybe? I don't want to go in a cave. There's probably animals inside of caves.
Yes, I doubt you'd find any caves out here, and if you did, they certainly wouldn't be unoccupied.
If you'd like, you can give me a survival check to kind of look around and see if you can spot any caves in the area.
Oh, I'm all over that.
Oh.
Now,
There's-
remind me
15 from Chester on the survival.
for
Yeah, Buri, you're looking around and you're just like kind of done with the day, like
looking up at the canopy.
everywhere kind of looks like it sucks. But Chester, you kind of look around, your eyes are adjusting to the dark. Like I said, you've got you've got some time to look too, so you take your time and kind of poke around. You're small as well, so you can look in some places where other people can't. And as you you kind of pull aside some reeds and brush, you actually do find what appears to be at least a partially submerged little sort of cave in the back of a hill. And you can see it kind of goes into the dark, almost like a tunnel, kind of deeper into the hill.
This looks perfectly promising and not at all creepy. Over here, friends. And Chester's gonna flag everybody down.
Think about it. Now, Liam, we don't have much choice but to seek shelter with these two, but something's off about that. Something's a little bit.
Yeah, we don't really. The storm's coming in. We don't really have a lot of time. So we might as well just take advantage of it now. But yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I trust this satyr. We should sleep in shifts or something.
Yeah, it's really weird that there's a satyr in the swamp. I don't.
Would I have any like expectation of the storm coming to like fill the little cave up more, or is it maybe angled in such a way that it?
You know, as you're looking at it, go ahead and give me a nature check.
That's fine. It's fine. Hey, that's better than I expected. Hey, 16.
As you're looking at it, you're pretty sure that if the water level rises, this whole hill is going to be like half submerged, especially if the rain gets real bad.
Not that cave, eh?
You can kind of actually even see signs of the water level kind of going up and going down, and it definitely goes up higher than the hill, or higher than the cave.
No. Nope. That, I cannot breathe underwater. I don't know about you. You can breathe underwater?
Yeah, I certainly can, but you know.
Yeah, I'm fine underwater personally.
Is there a tree nearby? I guess that oh no, I don't want to get in a tree in this weather. Can I, is there room for more than one in your tent, my friend? Maybe?
My cell? No. In my home.
Oh!
Think about
I had a
12
tent.
and a seat one.
Oh. Well, that won't really keep you safe from the storm, will it?
As in the past.
I'll keep looking around for anything better. Some happy looking trees that are leaning nice and close together to form a real dense canopy or such. Happy little trees.
On top of this hill, it's like a fairly large hill inside the swamp. As you kind of climb past over the cave, you can see at the very top that there appears to be, just like you're looking for, like a line of trees that looks pretty dense, that kind of like blocks off a lot of visibility. And as you're kind of like looking at it, it seems like you're not the only person who has noticed that this kind of large hill that rises above the water line is a good place to camp. You can see kind of flickering off of some of the trees from the other side of this sort of line. There appears to be a campfire.
Ooh, more friends.
Yeah.
Theo's gonna walk that way. Hello.
As you kind of step out from around the trees, you can see that like a short distance away on this little island of dry land that's kind of rising up out of the stagnant water, there is the light is coming from a fire. You can see the fire is like dead in the center of like a small camp. You can see that there is a very large, very colorfully decorated wagon that is sort of parked. Kind of like you can see there's some big stones that have kind of been like shoved underneath the big back wagon wheels to prevent it from rolling back down the hill, because the whole hill is pretty steep. So you know it's this big sort of this big sort of like spoked wheeled wagon. And you can see that the back of it almost looks like a massive barrel, like an oversized barrel, sort of with the planks. And you can see that there are doors and windows that have been kind of cut into it. And then, like I said, there's like colorful tapestries and scarves and jewels and dangly bits and things kind of adorning it. Colorful like paintings of moons and stars and figures and things. But you can see that near the wagon, sitting around the campfire, are 3 children. They appear to be just as colorfully dressed as the wagon decorations. There's like bright reds and, you know, bright blues and purples, and they all have big hoop earrings. You know, their ears have been pierced. You can see that they're kind of sitting around, like kind of chasing each other around the fire and playing. There's a couple of old mares that are sort of eating some hay out of a trough, kind of a few paces away from the wagon. And sort of overseeing the children. She hasn't really noticed you yet, because kind of it's dark and you can see kind of her advanced age. There appears to be a very old human woman. These children are also human children. This is a small encampment of humans.
Well, we weren't looking for humans.
But I don't believe this is I thought they were on the other side of the swamp, not in the swamp.
Theo kind of changes his stick from like waving around to like more of a like come in peace, but also holding the stick above his head still.
Sure, yeah, and you can see the kids spot you before the old lady does. You can hear them sort of begin speaking to each other, in a language you've heard human tongues before. Like Theo, you specifically, you've been around plenty of people, and the rest of you are familiar with human dialects. You don't speak it much, but it's definitely something that you kind of have to be wary of and slightly familiar with, especially living around, these human settlements. But you don't recognize. You don't, but you don't recognize their tongue. Whatever language this is, you don't recognize it. But they say something. They point at you. You can hear them kind of like laugh, and they begin to run over. And you can see that they're carrying little scarves. And since Theo is kind of in the front and carrying the stick, you see the kids immediately go to like ring around the rosieing around you. You see that they all look like they're having a lot of fun. They spin around saying some kind of little song for a couple seconds, and then they all kind of fall onto the hill, and then they laugh. You can see they get up, and the old woman has kind of, her attention has been attracted, and as she gets up, she kind of toddles over to the edge of the camp, kind of to the edge of the firelight. But then she sees the group of you. She kind of like, strains her eyes a little bit. She gives you one of these, and then she kind of like does like a sort of like a warding symbol, not like necessarily the cross thing, but she kind of just like oh my goodness, like in a little hand signal, and then she kind of like turns and calls out again in this you guess the same language. It sounds very sort of melodic, very flowy, whatever their language is, but she kind of calls out, and you can see that a moment later that two men kind of step into view from around the other side of the wagon. There is an old, thin man with grayed hair and like scars, and you can see that he's sort of just wearing like comfortable, just kind of canvas cloth pants and a vest. And you can see that there is a younger man who is sort of wearing kind of like closely cropped, almost like capris, and he is not wearing a shirt, and you can just kind of see the sweat kind of just like beating off of him, as it looks as though, based off of the axe that he's carrying, he may have been chopping wood. The two of them kind of come around. The old man looks up, and as the light from the fire sort of reflects off of his face, you can see that one of his eyes kind of catches in a weird way off of the flames. And he kind of steps forward a little bit, and you can see that the eye that kind of reflected weird looks kind of milky. There's no color to it. It's sort of blank. But he smiles, and as he looks at you, and then he begins to sort of beckon to you with this sort of old, veiny, withered hand.
Can I get a read on them? I'm not good at insight. No, wait, hold on. Somebody else.
Chester's just gonna bow and be like, yes, thank you. Thank you for welcoming us, strangers. And
Spirits
Chester's
of the
gonna
swamp. It is wonderful to have you at our encampment.
Yes.
Come, join us by our fire. Please, please. What is ours is yours.
Oh, they're very kind. You wouldn't happen to have any bugs, would you?
He
Quite famished.
does not. No.
I am sorry, friend. My hospitality does not extend to bugs, unfortunately, but if you would like to have some horse stew.
Oh, that's quite all right. I can find some bugs. They're everywhere. My friends might use.
Excellent. Please, come around my fire. Join my family and I for dinner. It is the least that we can do. We must offer hospitality in this dark time.
Yes, there is a storm coming.
Is the guy with the milky eye the one that's talking to us, or is it the other
The
guy?
milky-eyed guy is the one talking to you. You see that the shirtless one is sort of standing. His arms are kind of crossed. He's got a little bit of a frown on his face. He's kind of just standing back, not saying much. He's kind of just like reeking disapproval.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell if the guy's being genuine?
Sure, go ahead and give me an insight check.
All right, what do you think? This is weird.
21.
Do all humans eat horses? Don't they ride those?
That's what I thought.
Well, what'd you get, Theo?
21.
21.
Just like inefficient.
You can see this old man looks excited to see all of you. Like he looks like not like manic excited, not too excited, but he seems to be very eager to play host in this situation.
Then Theo kind of relaxes and ambles on over. Squelchily.
I think like as this is all going on, Liam is. You said it was the younger one that was like sitting back and wasn't kind of too happy with us being there, right?
Yes.
As we're kind of like, wow, I'm letting the satyr go first, but as this is all going on, Liam's gonna take out like a copper piece out of his hand, out of his pouch, and kind of just rub on it, and he's gonna cast detect thoughts on that one.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Yep, there are thoughts.
So I get surface thoughts, but if I dwell more in, I believe it's a wisdom saving throw.
Sure. So as you kind of are listening in to, are you just listening to everybody's thoughts, or are you trying to like listen in to just the old guy's thoughts, or?
More so the one that doesn't look too happy to be for us to be there. Like the kids seem fine because they're kind of just running around playing. The guy that's talking to Theo is very inviting, but that one's kind of standoffish.
You can kind of get the sense that that he you can kind of hear his inner monologue a little bit. It's something along the lines of, "Not more of this. Can't father learn after what happened with that last stranger to approach our camp? It's better just to keep to ourselves in a place like this. I better keep watch from over here in case anything goes wrong. I'm the only one who can be depended on in this family to keep things safe."
Got it. Yeah, then I won't dig. After that, like the surface level thoughts, I won't dig any further.
Sure. And the old man, again, he's very, very smiley. "Come on, please, come to my fire. Come to my fire." And
Well, I guess it is concentration, so I'll move it over to the old guy as well.
you can hear his thoughts. He's saying, after that bad omen that we dealt with, that we dealt with a couple weeks back, and when we first came into here, perhaps this is an opportunity to correct that karma, or to, you know, this is a good charm meeting these spirits. I better make them happy so that I will be blessed by this encounter.
Got it.
I think Buri like looks back at Liam expectantly, like, what do you think?
Well, the younger one's not too happy about us being here because they ran into somebody else that they didn't have a good time with. But the older gentleman is he feels like we're spirits and he wants to make us happy. Not entirely sure what they ran into that spooked them so much.
I won't personally say no to free food.
It's true.
And you can smell the food. The stew smells, it smells good. You can't really, like, sometimes you can, like, there's rosemary in that. You know, you don't really get the subtleties of the smell. It kind of just smells like a savory sort of root vegetable stew. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. You know, your stomachs rumble. I mean, human food definitely isn't what you're used to, you know, but, you know, you're roughing it.
Normally, I'm a pescatarian. No, I think Buri's more than welcome to, as long as Liam is comfortable joining them at the fire. Staying
We're
very...
just sitting there.
as you guys approach and you sit, you can see the kids as they kind of like take their seats as well. He like the old man. He introduces himself. He says,
Welcome, friends, welcome. You can call me Old Skarengi. And this is my wife, Rihanna.
and you see that he kind of gestures to the very old, very plump woman sitting near the stew pot. She's kind of giving it a stir every now and then, looking a little warily at the group of you. You know, she's got to be, you know, this guy seems to be the really excited one, so she's got to be the level-headed one. You know, you kind of get their dynamic a little bit just from a few seconds of watching their interactions. But you can see the laugh lines, the deep laugh lines on her face. She looks like a pleasant woman. But she stews up little sort of wooden bowls just for everybody. They're not especially deep bowls. You don't get a lot of food. The cauldron that she's cooking in is not overflowing by any means, but everyone gets the same amount, and she makes sure everyone's fed. Everyone gets a little scrap of bread as well, and you know, it's a little dry, it's a little stale, but you know, like you dip it in the stew, no worries. It's like a crouton. And so you guys kind of join them around the fire, and everyone kind of just is pleasantly eating. You see that old Skarengi, he kind of, after a few minutes of just pleasantries, he says,
So, what brings a group of spirits like yourselves to my camp? You know, did something about us attract you, or was it perhaps my colorful scarves?
Your colorful scarves are quite wonderful. I do like colorful things. But no, we're actually on our way to a human settlement in search of answers. There have been some strange goings on with the spirits, some of them anyways, and we're trying to find answers.
Oh, you treat with the spirits. That is very interesting. My daughter Valana, she is quite a gifted seer, and she communes with the spirits as well.
You don't say.
At the mention of Valana, you can see that the younger man who you've learned at this point his name is Carloni. He's been introduced, and you know he's said a couple of things. He seems very quiet, a little gruff, but you can see he visibly kind of like tenses up and gives his father a rather upset look. You know, kind of stares daggers his way.
Also, I unmute. So, have you ran into any other, spirits in the swamps in your travels?
Well, most of our trip, of course, was to go to the human settlement Marai de Trascon and to do some basic trading, as we often do. And it was a rather successful trading excursion, but not too many spirits, unfortunately.
Marai Gascon, is that what you said?
Yes, Marai de Tarascon.
Oh, de Tarascon.
How's the storm going? Like, is it hitting?
It hasn't hit yet. You can see that it is still kind of just like roiling up and kind of beginning to blow in, but it hasn't covered. It hasn't overtaken where you guys are at yet. The clouds do look bigger though. You can see them kind of. The moon is so large that slowly they're just kind of beginning to overtake the moon as they're moving. It's moving across the sky faster than the moon is.
Yeah, every once in a while, Liam will cast shape water kind of around the fire, kind of just pulling the moisture away from it to make sure that the fire doesn't go out.
Sure, yeah. And you can see Skarengi, he appreciates as you kind of tend to his fire.
He's like, thank you, you such a wonderful guest. But please, let me be the hospitable one. What your journey is to investigate the village then? Are you going to Marai de Tarascon? Or are you trying to get to Port Delure?
I think. Well, which one was Brucian in?
Oh, you know Brushan.
Yes, we're well, not me personally, but I have heard of him, and that's whom I am seeking.
Oh yes, he is the priest of the church in Marais de Tarascon.
Well, you see, I've never been to either, so first time.
Well, he is a good man, Brushan. He always buys things from us, and he keeps our business afloat some days. His requests are often much more expensive than those of the common man.
I see. Sounds like an upstanding gentleman.
He does have a heart for his community.
While the more eloquent folk are talking, Theo's gonna kind of take out his playing cards, and they're soggy and damp, and he starts kind of drying them off in the fire, not in the fire, next to the fire. But once he's done with that, the three littler kids is gonna start kind of doing little card tricks for the littler kids, and just listening to what everyone else is saying, because he doesn't really have a purpose. He's just kind of floating along, but he doesn't want anyone to ask him about it, so he's just kind of like, I'll do some card games, look at these kids.
Sure, yeah. And the three children, Eliza, Ratka, and Milosh, they are very happy to watch your card tricks. They ask a lot of follow-up questions. You get a lot of, how did you do that? Wow, you're so amazing. But it's in sort of they've kind of switched to kind of a broken common. You can tell that these kids probably don't know the common tongue as well as old Skarengi does. But they have no trouble showing you how excited they are for your performance. And they're a good audience.
Language.
Exactly. And as you entertain the kids, the rest of you kind of, as you sit around the fire with Skarengi and Rihanna. Kind of the night goes by. He tells you, of his journey to the town. He fills you in with kind of mundane details. None of it really super matters. He kind of he makes pleasant small talk with you. And at kind of the small talk that you guys are making is suddenly cut off as the door at the back of the wagon opens. You can hear the click, and you can hear the jingling of bells that are tied to the back of the door as it's pushed open. And you can see that there is a young woman with dark, very large, very expressive eyes. You see that she kind of looks a little nervous as the door opens, and she kind of looks down at the group of you. She kind of gives an sort of like a nervous smile and kind of settles in by Rihanna, who scoops her a bowl as well. As she sits down, Skarengi goes, "Ah, Velana, it is good to see you. We were just speaking of you, puppet." And he kind of, as she kind of takes her seat, he turns to the group of you. "This is my daughter Velana. Not only is she beautiful, but she is gifted with the sight." And as soon as he mentions the sight, you can see Velana, like, she looks a little... She doesn't stare daggers at Dad, but she's kind of like, really? Like, you're going to mention that to them? Like, you can see in her head, she's kind of probably already going through, like, now I'm going to have to do this and this. Like, they're going to ask me to tell their futures and all that. And then almost on cue, he goes, "Velana, you should tell their fortunes for them. You have such a gift for this sight. Such a blessing is not something that they receive every day." And she kind of looks and she says, "All right, Father," as if she kind of was expecting it.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go first, please, by all means.
After like the description of like fortune reading and like everything that the father has told us, does Liam recognize this type of magic from like any kind of reading or anything that he's seen before?
Give me a history check or an arcana check. Kind of the information you get will be different based on which one you'd like to roll.
Well, they're both the same. Let's go arcana.
Ooh.
That is a 20.
Sorry, which one did you roll?
Arcana.
Arcana. There is definitely divination magic. There's a whole school surrounding, foretelling the future or getting visions. That being said, this does not look like a studious individual. She's probably 19 years old, maybe, she's not old by any means. She does not look, these people don't seem like they're going to universities to study magic for years at a time. They seem like a merchant family traveling in their caravan, So the odds to you that she is a wizard who's practicing divination magic is unlikely. It's more likely that she is either some sort of cleric or she has some sort of natural gift of sight, which is not unheard of. Though it's a lot harder to study or quantify than, divination magic, which can be viewed, observed, and recorded.
Anyway, I think Buri holds up his hand and just goes, pass. My future is my own.
And you see Skarengi, he looks a little wounded, he's like, oh, that's okay. I understand. Not everyone desires to know their future.
As well, I have absolutely no qualms with knowing this. So, if you don't mind, that would be wonderful. If you would tell my fortune. And Chester's gonna kind of
Yeah, since Chester is going to indulge in this, Liam is going to take out a book from underneath his robes in like a medieval style fanny pack. And pull out this book and then summon this magic quill out of nowhere and just start taking notes while this magical practice is in works.
You see that Valana reaches over, hanging off of the side of the caravan. There are a number of pots and pans and buckets and washing bins and things like that, sort of tools. There's currently a cast iron Dutch oven that's sort of being hung above the fire, but she grabs a pan, just old cast iron skillet, like a camping skillet, and she carries it over and she sets it in her lap, and she kind of gives her father a look, and she you can see sort of the light of the fire kind of flickering in her large dark eyes as she kind of looks almost with a tinge of sadness, or maybe a little bit of worry. There's a slight unhappiness to this. But she kind of looks to her father and she says, I suppose if it is what you desire, father, that I can try to do this again, but after that boy I whose fortune I read when we first came in, I'm worried that the same thing may happen again, father. And he kind of looks to you all a little nervously and back to her. Don't worry, dear. That was a one-time thing. Surely that won't happen again. Please, look into this. Look into the future for them. Use your gift.
What happened?
Well, not long ago, I was asked to cast the runes for a quiet young man who we found lost in the swamps. Much like this. It did not end well for him. It was quite jarring, and he and his companions, they left early that evening, and in something of a hurry. And I've had a bad feeling about that poor boy ever since. But perhaps another reading will wash away the residual energy of that previous quite unpleasant reading. I'm not sure. The spirits are often they're often quite finicky.
I'm not one to gamble with lives.
So it takes the fun out of it, does it?
As well, if it's the future, it's the future. What can we do except work towards it?
She reaches, she nods, she says, yes, the future is only something that can be moved towards and never reached.
Many people don't understand this, though. But she says, but it's okay, it's okay. Father, I will do as you ask. I will read their fortunes. Perhaps this is just what we need. I feel it has been too long. I'm growing out of practice, just out of fear that something else negative may happen. No, this is good. This is the time. And she reaches into her into sort of a pouch that she's got at her side, and you can see her pull out a handful of these little tiles with various like engravings and symbols and things on the various tiles. You see that she sets the cast iron pan in her lap, and she kind of closes her eyes. She shakes the tiles in her hand. You can hear them clacking and clattering against each other. And as she begins to shake them, you hear sort of a distant, like, of thunder. This sort of peals across the sky, very ominously, just as she begins to shake it. And just as she sort of releases the tiles and they scatter into the pan, a gust of wind just kind of whooshes through the camp, sending the scarves and decorations kind of blowing haphazardly in the wind. You kind of have to grab your hats and secure your belongings as you kind of like, kind of just like batten down for a few seconds as you're battered by this gust. And as the gust sort of subsides and you look up, you can see the pan in her hands. She's staring. Her head is like she is like hunched over looking into the pan. She's like almost holding it up to her face. As she looks up, you see that her eyes that were large and dark and very expressive have now gone completely black. The lost one! The lost one is called to you! She looks at each of you in turn. And as she says this, you see Rihanna from behind kind of like pull the children close and make another one of these protective gestures. The dead! The dead! I can see them walking! They will walk with the coming storm. And you, only you can find a way to put them to rest. Oh, if you cannot... And you see that she kind of looks off into space, almost staring past you, sort of gazing off into nothingness, and her eyes kind of go wide, and the color drains from her face, and she begins to tremble. The rain! It will turn to blood! It will drown you! It will drown all of us! All of us and Marai Tarascon! And you see that very quickly Skarang goes, okay, Valana, that's all right. It was too soon, my dear. Come on, back into the wagon with you. Oh, don't worry, everyone. Carloni, see to your sister, see to your sister. And you see Carloni immediately kind of swoops in and kind of like pulls her away. Beware! Beware the rain of blood! And she is pulled in, and the door slams on the cart as Carloni pulls her inside. Skarangi turns to you and he smiles. Oh! I'm sorry about that, friends. That doesn't always happen. I'm sure it was nothing. Don't pay any mind. Her readings aren't always that accurate.
Yes, no need to apologize. I apologize for upsetting her. A rain of blood does sound concerning, especially with drowning. I can breathe water just fine. Blood, not so much.
Often these things are very metaphorical anyways. It could mean a rain of blood. That could also mean, I don't know, lots of cousins coming into town unexpectedly. You never know what a rain of blood could mean when it comes to divination. It's okay. And also, no charge. No charge for fortune. It's this one is on me.
Well, you're very
You were
gracious.
going to charge us?
Well, I was going to ask a donation at the end.
Well, let's see. Do I have anything?
Oh, no, please. Rest by my fire. Eat some stew. It's okay. Enjoy yourselves. It seems a bad storm is coming. Get a little bit of peaceful rest while you can.
You're very gracious.
We will watch over you. Do not worry. Everything will be fine, friends.
Yeah, you kind of see Liam still off to the side, like taking vigorous notes of like what happened. And kind of like he's talking to himself, he's like, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that was either. That was really weird. Have you seen something like that before? Yeah, I'm not entirely, no. That's not a kind of divine magic that I've seen you do before. And then, like, close his book a little bit and tuck it away before the rain starts.
I think Buri just was really, really stiff during that whole thing, like stiffening up as if like nervous. But then right at the end of it, where they were talking about the money exchanging, he like relaxed a lot, and then he leaned into Liam and just went like, "Con artists." Once they were gone.
Theo thinks that underneath the wagon might be a great place to stay dry, and if no one can he crawl under there to sleep there for the night, maybe?
There is not much room under this wagon. You can see that underneath the wagon that there is like stuff that has been like roped to the underside. This wagon appears to be built to like maximize every available inch of storage space. As you're looking at it, it seems like the wheels only have maybe 3 or 4 inches of clearance between the bottom. And then as you're looking at it, you start to think, how in the fuck did they get this wagon onto this hill? It's surrounded completely by water. How is this thing traveling through the swamps?
And while I'm over there kind of like looking and trying to see a place to sleep, can I hear any of what the brother and the sister are saying in the wagon?
As you kind of are walking around the wagon and you kind of take a listen. You kind of you hear the sounds of Rihanna and Skarengi as they're kind of like talking in like quick hushed tones, and you kind of hear heavy boots stomping on the wood, and then you hear the front door of the wagon open again. And those of you on the other side of it, away from where Theo is, you can see Carloni, who is now wearing like a sort of black rider's cape with like a hood. Kind of tied around his neck, and he kind of steps out. He kind of gives you all a silent nod. You see him walk around the wagon and like climb up a little ladder to a driver's seat. And you can see that he kind of just like leans back in the driver's seat, kind of pulls the hood down over his face, and you can just see his breath, kind of just like his even breath of his chest rising and falling. But as he's taken that position, and you're kind of like, Theo, as you're kind of eavesdropping at the back of the wagon, a window that was cracked suddenly like opens a little more, and you see, as you look up, a head pop out and look down like directly where you're standing. You see the wide eyes of Valana.
Sorry, looking for somewhere to take a leak. Sorry.
Beware the madman. Beware his blood.
Will do, love.
And then
Make
she
sure you
just
get
like,
some sleep.
then she pulls the thing shut. As you can hear Scarloni kind of shout something that you would guess in whatever language they speak probably is like, get away from the window. You know, just based off of her jump and the snapping of the window.
Oh, fucking hell. He's gonna wander off to the woods now and like pretend to, maybe he needs to pee, who knows, but just to kind of illusion, yes, this is what I was doing, I wasn't being shady, not at all.
Sure. Yeah, you do you have minor illusion? Or prestidigitation maybe? You can prestidigitation peeing. That'd be pretty funny. No, that's fine. No, you just kind of, yeah, sure. Yeah, you've been holding it for a while.
Use your message cantrip to tell everyone you're peeing.
All right. And yeah. And so like you hear this, you know, you finish your fake pee. You can see the figure as he's like now like sitting on top of the wagon. He kind of like looks at you for a second as you kind of like zip it up and then turn around and walk back. His eyes follow you, and then you can see he pulls the hood down and kind of just even steady breathing. But you join the rest of your party.
Warm. Walking by, fixing my fly. Are you looking to stay warm or what?
Keeping watch.
Mm-hmm. Watch that way. I'm in the camp.
Rest easy.
Liam is going to tend to the fire a little bit more, making sure it doesn't go out. And then he's going to withdraw into his shell, like right next to the fire to keep warm.
And of course, Buri is going to probably stay close to him and speak up a little bit so that Liam can hear him from inside his shell and go, I'll wake you up in a few hours after the first shift.
Deal.
Chester's on moth duty near the fire.
I just imagine Buri like leaning on Liam's shell, just like
Oh,
leaning
absolutely.
back. Yeah.
I imagined him perched on it like a cat.
That'd be pretty funny. I like that. We're doing that.
Yep.
All right.
He's like holding his trident, like fucking try it.
Ready at all times.
And yes, in the group of you, I mean, it's an unorthodox camp. You've never slept in the company of humans, or most of you haven't, but you do your best. There's no point in trying to travel now. It's too late. It's too dark. And you don't know when the storm's going to hit. So you all just kind of one by one drift off to an uneasy sleep. As you sleep, your dreams are plagued with, rains of blood and madmen pursuing you and humans destroying your inhabitants or your habitations and settlements. And, you've got bad dreams of negative things happening to the swamp. And as you all wake up, with less sleep than you would have liked, enough to get a long rest, but none of you by any means feel like recharged and rejuvenated and like raring to take on the day. You can feel a cold clamminess that is settled in as the morning, as sort of you're about as far away from the sun going down as you can get, and it hasn't come back up yet, so things are just getting colder, and you wake up with a shiver just before dawn. And as you all look around, you see that the campfire's ashes are there. There's still some embers burning in it, but the cart is gone.
Do I see tracks or anything? Because I'm still curious how this cart's going through the swamp.
No.
If we were sleeping in shifts, would we have seen it disappear, or did we both pass out at some point?
Everybody, if you attempted to stay awake, there's a point where just like the weariness kind of just like overtakes you. Your eyes become too heavy to stay
up. This is
up.
a curse. This is a fucking curse.
And you kind of just like sleep overtakes you. And as the next morning rolls around, you look around for even tracks for the cart where it was resting, but there's not even divots in the mud where the cart was sitting. The only evidence that anyone was here is the campfire and the taste of stew as you kind of like burp. The stew in your belly tells you that they were definitely there at some point.
They must have attacked us and left. Check your belongings.
Make sure that his book is still there.
Yeah, and as you look, your stuff is all safe. They didn't touch any of your things. In fact, they seem to have left something. As you kind of look around, you can see now the mist and the fog that had kind of settled over the water was obscuring it before. But you can see that there is a large raft, and you can see that there are ties on it for securing like loads and luggage. And you can see that it's sort of tied to some brush kind of at the base of the hill in the water.
I don't think I was paying attention. Was that there yesterday?
I didn't see it.
Hell if I know. I barely saw the ground in front of my feet.
Well, that might make things a little bit easier for traversing.
Yeah, anything that gets me out of this mud is much preferred.
I
Yeah,
vote.
try not to sink into it.
I gotta remember your character's freaking names, dude. I vote Chester. I vote Mr. Bogwater over here goes and checks it out.
Fake name. Fake
Oh.
name.
Yes, I certainly will go down to the Bogwater. Chester's just gonna.
There, see? Easy solution.
I want a mirthful leap onto it to like hit it with maximum, like if it's gonna fall apart, it's gonna fall apart now and not later.
Now you thump on the raft, and it kind of like your momentum kind of pulls it away from the shore a little bit, and the rope goes taut, You kind of like feel the rope kind of snap, not snap, but as it goes taut, you're kind of like jarred a little bit, and it kind of begins to slowly drift back towards the shore, just kind of from the pull of of hitting the end of the rope.
Stomp the hooves a bit.
Chester's gonna like walk straight into the water and like go around it, through the water and underneath it, and kind of just inspect it, and then pop out and be like, yes, this raft is definitely a raft.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think.
Thanks for the insight.
You are.
Wise, not smart.
Sorry.
I don't think any of us are wise. Yeah, Liam will waddle over and like kind of just like try to hop on, but slightly miss. So he's got his little legs are like dangling off as he's trying to like claw himself onto the raft.
I'll help him on.
Thank you. It's a little rough with being wide.
Yeah, no problem, friend. Anytime you need help, just let me know. I'm happy to help.
And as you all kind of clamber onto it, like you can see that sort of resting on the side of it is a pole, like a 10-foot pole that you can kind of use to guide yourself a little bit. There's a rudder. There isn't a rudder on the raft. There's just like the pole. But you can also feel that there's a very slight current that has already kind of got a hold on the raft as well.
Theo's gonna like feel his bicep and then go over and like grab Buri's bicep and be like, I think you should push, actually. I was gonna take the stick, but I think you should have the stick.
I'll stay in the
Don't
water
touch me.
and hold on to the
Okay.
back.
Sorry, you're right.
But fine, I'll do it.
I can kick
Not
my
like we have
frog
much
legs.
choice.
You just seem
Don't worry.
stronger than me, that's all.
You know what? Your frog legs do look pretty strong. You should definitely try that.
Outboard motor grung
Yeah,
style.
I'm just, Chester's just gonna like hang out on the back of it so that he's mostly in the water and just occasionally like do that frog kick of the leg. Like
Sure. And it's nice. The
You
the,
just-
the heat of the day is already kind of beginning to kick in as the sun is beginning to rise. The temperature is rising, and so is the humidity. You know, as the sun kind of begins to bake the surface of the swamp. And so like as you kind of are in this sort of like tea-colored water, you know, just kind of kicking your feet, it keeps you cool. You know, it keeps your skin from cracking. It's nice. And yeah, so you just kind of paddle along the back.
This is lovely.
And as the raft kind of carried by the current and by the kicking of Chester Bogwater the Fourth, kind of slips along in these sort of narrow, kind of very hard to navigate. If you were like not just kind of going with the flow, it'd be very hard to kind of like pick and choose between these like offshoots of this kind of main water area here, this main canal. But as it kind of just carries you, you see passing slowly overhead, sort of intertwining branches with sort of like sort of limbs and reeds and things sort of hanging into the water with big sheets of moss and algae kind of strung across things. You can see like those big sort of nesty looking spider webs that are kind of spun into trees, you know, like in a lot of areas that are just like teeming with bugs. And you just kind of see like red squirrels kind of just like running overhead, little like frogs jumping into the water, you know, much smaller frogs than Chester. Occasionally you'll see, you know, what you think may be a crocodile, you know, as it's kind of floating down the canal. You know, it's hard to tell sometimes. But it's pretty peaceful as you guys are traveling, you know, at least for at this point in the day. The further you get into the swamp, the louder it gets, and the sounds of the swamp are kind of echoing through the trees. You can feel occasionally, you know, like eels or otters or various things might like tickle the undersides of your feet, Chester, as they kind of dart by. And eventually you begin to hear sort of a minor chorus of croaks and ribbits that as you kind of begin traveling gets louder. And to the untrained ear, this is just a cacophony. But Chester, you are immediately able to recognize this as a choir. There are somewhere nearby frogs and toads that are putting on a performance.
The song of my people. Perhaps we should investigate. It's such a lovely noise.
Sorry, I
Don't
gotta
we
run
have
to go.
somewhere else to be, though?
I mean, we're already in the area. I don't think they're that far away.
You're muted.
I didn't swear, I promise. We should really get moving. We need to get as far as we can today. We can't afford to keep trying to find shelter like that.
Oh, well, it's less shelter and more of a familiar face. Perhaps they could help us, but
The croaking is
It's just
actually getting so loud that it's getting hard to hear each other.
I think maybe if we keep going, perhaps we'll find them anyhow.
Do we see where it's coming from, at least?
It kind of, as you're going, you can see that the canal is narrowing. There's these like big like water fern kind of bushes, and they're kind of like coating the shoreline. They're like completely obscuring the shoreline on both sides. But it sounds like it's coming from like both sides, just like you know, just like it's loud.
Surrounded.
You start to like go a little bit crazy. Like as you're talking, you literally can't hear what your party is saying. And then as you know, as you're talking, very randomly, the chorus completely cuts out, and silence just completely falls over the area.
And you realize Chester had been singing too, and just then all of a sudden you just hear Ave Dambala. Oh,
It's like when you say something really loud in a crowded room,
sorry.
like everyone gets quiet.
I was just a little
Um,
carried away there.
Yeah, I think Buri was like he abandoned all pretense of trying to stay ready for combat, and he just like had his hands over his ears, and he was like scrunching up his face a little bit as he walks, and then suddenly he's just like,
4 tickets for Overstimulation Station, please.
did I go deaf? No, I can hear myself. Can you all hear me? Am I?
I think so.
I think we're fine. That was a little intense.
Chester's gonna kind of like start to clap a little bit and be like, "That was a wonderful performance. Thank you for
Can we leave
gracing us
him?
with your songs."
Are your people always this loud?
Often.
Suddenly, you can see it just a split second before they strike. Out of these bulrushes, you can see 3 gigantic frogs, easily probably weighing like above 100 pounds, that like leaps and like splats onto the shore. And as they do, they each use these long sticky tongues, and like before they even see who's on the raft, all 3 of these frogs are just launching these massive sticky tongues towards the raft. I am going to need initiative rolls, please.
Oh dear God.
no.
It's a 13 for me.
0. Wow. I never played characters with 0
I've got a
initiative.
4.
I was like, how did you roll a 0 on initiative?
No, I got a 15.
Crazy.
All right. And then what did Buri get?
13.
Okay, so Liam, Buri, Theo, Chester.
That's right.
All right, and the frogs are going to be going at 11, so it's actually... Was Theo 11 also?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Theo will go before the frogs. So Liam, Buri, Theo, frogs, Chester. Liam, you can go ahead and take your turn. Actually, sorry, I forgot to do something. I was gonna make everybody roll perception checks to see if you get surprised. So
Should we
everyone,
still do that?
give me perception checks real quick to see if you were caught off guard by the attack.
Well, I got a 9.
I also got a 9.
18.
What did Liam get?
19.
19. Okay, so Theo and Liam, you both kind of look and you spot these frogs as they're coming, and so like you are not caught by surprise in this case. But unfortunately, Chester and Buri, are completely blindsided by this. And because of that, are not going to be taking an action in this first round of combat. So, Liam, go ahead and take your action as you kind of turn just in time to see these frogs as they're getting ready to stick out their sticky tongues at you guys.
How far away are they? Like, how far away is the shore, them from us, I guess?
So the canal at this point is about 12 to 15 feet wide. You guys are kind of sitting right smack dab in the middle of it. So on either side of the shore, there's 2 frogs on one side of the canal, 1 frog on the other. And either one, they're probably between like 15 and 20 feet away from you.
Okay. So there's 2 of them 15 feet away from me?
There's 2 of them on one side that are about 15 feet away, and 1 on the other side of the canal that's also about 15 feet away.
And are the 2 next to each other?
The 2 of them on the one side are pretty close together, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Liam is going to I have cool stuff that I can do. All right. Liam is going to seeing like the tongues going for the raft is his he's kind of freaking out. He's just like and then like some kind of like arcane like shiver comes around him, and he kind of like loses control of his body, and his arms like shoot out, and he's gonna cast Thunder Wave towards the 2 on the shore that are like next to each other.
Okay.
But instead of thunder, it is going to be cold damage.
Okay. All right. So there is sort of like a crack of sound, and sort of this sort of like almost like a crackling of the air as it gets very cold.
A Constitution 15 saving throw.
15 turn
Yeah,
to beat.
where thunder usually comes out. Yeah, big old gust of like ice and snow comes flying out.
All right. So that's 2 failed rolls. So go ahead. Is it what's the damage on this?
8 cold damage each.
8 cold damage each. All right, sick. As you cast the spell, you can see sort of, like I said, this just sort of like kind of the groaning of ice, almost that kind of sound of like a glacier, almost sort of like this groaning and the crackling as the air gets cold very quickly. You can see the skin on the frogs kind of begins to shrivel. It wrinkles. You can see it happens so quickly that the skin actually tears. You can see sort of blood begin to spout out as the skin rips and cracks. But the 2 frogs kind of let out like a roar, and then it kind of is cut off as they are frozen solid by the blast of magic. You can see the 2 fat tongues interrupted as they were already kind of launching out of their mouths, just kind of like, carrying the momentum forward, just kind of like come to rest with a splat on the ground.
And that is his turn.
All right,
They
Theo.
were supposed to get pushed back 10 feet, but I'll take frozen instead.
Theo is so you said there's 1 left that isn't frozen?
There is 1 left on the other side of the canal, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to cast Dissonant Whispers on that one, so we'll need a 12 wisdom save from them.
All right. That's a 4.
So this frog just hears in its head, "Bugger off!" And it takes 7 points of damage.
All right. You see like the sound kind of amplified, and as it hears this, you can see it kind of rippling through the force of the blast, and then you just kind of see its face like almost blasted off by the force of the sound. You can see it's knocked off of its feet, and it sort of tumbles unceremoniously down the bank, and then just kind of splashes in the river. And you see it just kind of come to float on the surface of the water as it's picked up in the current.
Good moves, Rafi boy.
You after a few seconds of just like looking at each other, you see that Buri and Chester, who were kind of like shocked at what was happening and didn't really react, suddenly everything kind of like they kind of come to, and you look around. The battle rush kind of begins to fade, and Chester, as you look, you can see this is not a grung or a boggard or like a humanoid frog thing. This is a giant frog. It's like a natural, it's naturally occurring, though, like they don't normally get this big. It was probably like trolling for food. You'd guess that they often will let out frog mating calls to attract lots of frogs and then just like eat the frogs like flies. So you guess that may have been a little bit of what was happening.
Alas, that the siren calls always lead us to something like this. I don't know.
The siren song of the giant
Always?
frog.
And
Irresistible to some.
How often does this happen to you?
Would you believe twice?
I would,
No.
yes. Yes, I would believe that.
Perhaps you're both correct. I don't remember. Anyways,
Okay,
let's
let's
continue.
keep moving.
I don't think the river was gonna let us stop moving, but whatever.
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
you feel in
the-
control and all.
The raft is very rapidly
Let's
kind of
be quiet.
continuing
Let's
down.
keep moving quiet.
I think
Let's
at
play
this
the be
point,
quiet game.
I think at this point, Liam is going to go to the back of the raft, where Chester's at, and kind of help him by casting shape water and making the current move a little bit faster.
Sure, yeah. Just kind of sensing the hostility of the swamp and remembering where you are. It's even if you are one of the familiar spirits of this realm, or one of the many animal tribes. It still doesn't mean that another animal isn't gonna try to eat you. And it's just kind of a harsh reminder of that. As you
There's
say
always a
your
bigger
piece
fish.
to the poor, slightly less evolved frogs, and just kind of continue along your way. You travel along this canal for the entire day, basically, just kind of in the drift of the current.
Yeah.
It gets very, very hot during kind of the hottest part of the day. The humidity gets almost unbearable, and then kind of before, like right as you're thinking like this sun is going to roast us alive, you are cast under shade. A sort of darkness kind of washes over the area, and as you look up, you kind of watch through the canopy as dark clouds begin to flow across the sky, overtaking you and your companions as they continue to blow towards the east.
Well, I was hoping for shade, but that does not bode well.
You can hear sort of the occasional rumble of thunder, just kind of as it kind of makes its way through the clouds, and you can see the churning of these storm clouds is violent. Like they are like very fast moving, fast spinning, sort of violent looking clouds. And the longer you just keep
Worse than
waiting,
yesterday?
like now that they're over you, you realize like how. Now do you realize the scale of this storm now that it's overtaken you, and you keep waiting for the rain to begin. Like it's like waiting for it's like waiting for something something important to happen. I would have liked to have had a better analogy than that, but it's like waiting for an important thing. This important thing you're waiting for. Yeah, but you just like feel this sort of sense of dread kind of beginning to build in your guts as you kind of look up, and this thing just continues to build in intensity. It's like you're wondering to yourselves, like, when is this thing going to drop, and like how insane is it going to be, like cause with all this build up, and you think that all day, this long miserable day traveling on this raft, until it starts to get dark. And the trees in this part of the swamp that you're in kind of begin to close around the raft, as travel starts to get difficult. Things are kind of narrowing into like smaller little creeks and little body or like little, you know, what's smaller than a creek? An estuary? Is that bigger than a creek or smaller than a creek?
That's bigger.
I don't know, like a river.
I think a creek
It's
is
about as small as
probably
you get.
about as small
A
as you can
brook,
go.
creeks
Yeah.
and brooks and such. Yeah, it gets to the
Yeah.
point where it's like the water is like knee to waist deep, and it gets a little hard to travel, and you start to get a little worried. But eventually the canal kind of widens back out, and you kind of see that it appears that you're in a different part of the swamp. There are the water here is a little lower, so there's a lot more exposed roots and trees and things. So you have to use the stick more defensively at this point, kind of just like pushing yourselves out of the way of obstacles. And the wind as it's carrying you is sort of whistling this odd, lifeless, eerie tune as it kind of carries through the leaves overhead. And eventually you kind of break through this clump of dense foliage that Theo and Buri are kind of having to like beat out of the way with their weapons and the poles. And as you kind of come through it, in the rapidly darkening nighttime air, you can see that there is something bright in the distance a ways. It is brighter than a single lantern, you know, like it's a little too far away for you to be able to tell exactly what it is, but it's warm, you know, and it kind of hovers in the dark so that you're finding yourselves looking up to see this thing, not looking ahead, and sort of almost like moths to a flame, like you and your raft just naturally pulled by the current slide easily towards the source of this light. You can see as you kind of come through the darkness and the mist and this shape comes into view that there is a small wooden house, like barely larger than a garden shed. And you can see that it is sort of suspended in the air above the surface of the swamp. And at first you can't see why because of how dark it is, but as you get a little closer, you see the massive poles, the wooden poles, coming up out of the swamp that are sort of resting or forming the foundation for this little shack to sit on. There's like a little guardrail around it, and like a little walkway that goes all the way around the shack. And you can see that the shack itself is small. There are 2 front windows and a wide open door, and sort of surrounding the walkway around the shed are candles and lanterns, like dozens of them. You can see the wax kind of melting and dripping down the wood, as it appears many candles have probably been melted here. You know, you can see sort of a layer of wax kind of caked around the bottom edge of the platform that this shack is sitting on. As you get closer, you can see more light pouring out from inside. There are lanterns hung from the ceiling of the shack, and you can kind of spot what appear to be many more candles lit on the inside. The light itself sort of gives a reflection, like sort of shimmery reflection off of the dark water. That's sort of beautiful, you know, in this sort of dreariness. And as you find yourselves kind of being pulled towards it, you know, you see very suddenly a rope ladder, almost as if it's been kicked from the doorway, just kind of poof, clack, 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 splash, as it hits the water. And someone has kicked down a rope ladder.
Seems like they're expecting us. Maybe
I
we're
hope that
easy
was
to
Santa
spot in
Claus.
this dark river.
I can't imagine how that could be. Someone's expecting us?
First a caravan, now a spooky house. I'm sure it's all fine.
Something
What if-
strange is definitely going on.
What if more of those frogs live in there?
Well, you took care of them quite easily. So I wouldn't be
I
too
mean-
worried about that.
Yeah, what was it? 6 seconds? I mean, really?
It was a
I don't
quick
know.
fight.
I wasn't paying attention.
AoE spells, yay!
I'll try to tie the floater to one of the holes, so it hopefully won't go away.
Sure. Yeah, you take a rope, you kind of swing it around and tie it off. You secure your raft to one of the stilts.
I'll go first, I guess. Yeah. No. Yeah.
I could go first if you'd like.
By all means. You could
As-
both go first.
As Theo begins to climb the rope ladder, it's sort of swaying pretty violently, with the force of him jostling it as he's climbing, and also this wind that keeps kicking up and blowing through. And you make it to the top, and about halfway to the top, you can kind of hear something kind of over the wind, but it's hard to make out. And as you get a little closer and the wind kind of dies down, you can hear someone mumbling, and you can make out a phrase sort of as you're climbing. You hear someone say, "The on descend shall evil of night the land, as near at is signs of hexad this wind hand."
Theo kind of like looks over his shoulder and is like, "Hey, stop looking at my ass. There's shit going on up here." And
Hey, what's
climbs
going
his
on
fluffy
up
butt up.
there?
As you climb to the top of the ladder to see where this sound or who could possibly be speaking, you get to the top and you can see as you climb up, this little house only has one room. As you look through the door that is again hanging open, the windows are open as well. You can see that there are at least 24 lanterns that are lit and hanging or resting on various surfaces inside of this little shack. You can see that they're sitting on the floor, hanging on pegs on the walls, but they you have to kind of squint and hold a hand up over your face. There's so much light pouring out of this shack in the center of the swamp. You can see that there are several open-topped barrels and boxes that are kind of stacked up against the walls, and they too are covered in lit candles and lanterns. And in the center of the room, facing the door, you can see sort of kind of rocking back and forth, his hair hanging over so you can't really see his face, but you see this figure, a young human who sits in a circle of 5 burning lanterns, clutching a book to his chest, mumbling to himself. And as you kind of step into the room, his blank eyes don't even register your presence. You see them just staring at the flickering candle flames, or the flickering flames in the lantern that is kind of nearest to him. This young man is unusually thin and pale. You can see that his hair is very long, very unkempt, and it hangs over his face and shoulders kind of limply in like stringy chunks. As you look at his face, you can see his features are almost tortured. He has these lines of agony and this look of exhaustion and fear, and it's just like he's just kind of again just rocking and clutching this book. He doesn't make any move to greet you or anything. He just continues to struggle out that incomprehensible phrase that he said before.
Since he didn't really register me coming into the room or anything, I'm gonna use message as the spell to like try to communicate directly in his mind. Hello, lad. You all right? Is there anything we could do to help you? Seem having a fit.
He gets to respond with message, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as the response comes back, you just hear screaming, blood curdling, ear shattering, like throat ripping screams.
Oh God!
And with
I
that,
assume we can hear that down, not in the room.
no, that only
All in the head.
that's all in the head. That's what
Jesus
his thoughts
Christ.
are. And as this horror washes over you, you see this tortured individual, and your thoughts begin to race of like, who is this? What could he like? What is going on? You know, like, where are we? We are going to go ahead and end it for tonight, as we are at our 10 p.m. Cutoff there. So that was a good session, everybody. That was a good first one. We are going to be doing this every Friday for the next, this is not like a really long one. So, we'll probably be playing for 6 to 8 weeks. We'd love to see you guys come back, to all of our viewers. Thanks for watching. You can check out our Discord. It's the Dice Dad Games Discord. And then we've got a bunch of projects that I will be getting proper plugs for so that we can actually like say what everybody's involved in right now. But Kai is a Twitch streamer as well. And does a lot of like gaming content, I believe. And then Lyn is a podcaster. Brian, you're in a podcast as well. And we'll have more details about some of that stuff, like I said, coming soon. But for now, just wanted to thank everybody for watching. Ask that, hey, you come back next Friday at 8 p.m. Central and tune in with us again as we continue this. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. It was a pleasure to have you, and we will see you next week. Good night,
Sweet
everyone.
dreams, everyone. Don't let the
All right,
bedbugs
now.
bite.
I'm gonna go stream for like 5 more minutes and spin a wheel and then get off. So I'll talk to you guys later.
All right,
Later.
Kai, what is your? It's PolychromeVirus, right? Is that's your
correct.
Twitch handle?
Twitch.tv/PolychromeVirus. You can also go to http://polychromevire.us.
Boom.
Ah,
And with that plug,
I get it.
we will end things for tonight. So have a nice night, y'all, and we will see you next Friday.
Good night.
Bye.